it wouldn't be the Shawn and Matt show without talking about the Metaverse and what Mark Cuban thinks about the Metaverse and me buying real estate.
Matt.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. My name is Matt, that is Shawn, and welcome to our show. Shawn, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about a growing share of home listings that are going stale as the market cools. A new report from Redfin. We're going to be talking about the one zip code in Northern Virginia where prices have increased by, drum roll please, 43%. In 2022. 43, like almost 50%.
Wow.
Like the median sales price has increased almost 50%. And then it wouldn't be the Shawn and Matt show without talking about the Metaverse and what Mark Cuban thinks about the Metaverse and me buying real estate in
Matt.
the Metaverse. Just got a haircut and one of the hairs got caught on the neck.
That's always a comfortable feeling.
The most painful, annoying, stupid thing in the world. Okay, let's start with a article and a study from Redfin that states that a growing share of home listings are stale as the market cools. Redfin says it's stale when it's been on the market for 30 days or longer without it going under contract. And the study essentially says that in the month of July, stale listings, houses, properties that have been on the market for 30 days or longer increased by 12% in that month. And Shawn, I guess my question is, should we be surprised by this? Because at a certain point, we know that we were operating under extremely low interest rates in the first Q1 of 2022. We know that there wasn't much supply in Q1 of 2022. And now interest rates have gone up by almost 3% since the beginning of the year. Supply is now back. It's right. There's more houses that are on the market, and the economy is shakier. You know, I'm not an economist, but it's shakier than where it was a couple of months ago. So is this all surprising? And then, you know, should this be more normal where houses should take, 30 days to sell? It should take, 40 days to sell. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, to really dig into this, you have to go back to how it started, right? And we were forced with a pandemic. It's something that has never happened before in our lifetime. And so what happened for those few months? Everybody was locked down. They were in their houses. They weren't buying real estate. So think about that 6-month period, right? Where we were all sitting at home and no one was doing anything. I was still showing houses and we were still selling things, but there were a lot of scared people. There were people that didn't want to leave their house. There were houses that didn't want to be shown.
Your house was one of the ones that didn't want to be shown. You took it off the market.
So I was going on the market. I put it on the market the day everything shut down. It was the worst timing ever. And how was I supposed to know that a pandemic was going to hit and everything was going to shut down, right? But it happened. And so I ended up pulling my house off the market because it was so slow. Put it back on the market because my wife yelled at me, and we ended up selling it, But the truth is, what happened during that 6-month period? There were so many people that were just sitting back. So naturally, the next thing that happened, all these buyers started coming into the market. But the sellers were still like, I don't feel comfortable having people in my house, right? I don't feel comfortable. So a lot less people put their houses on the market. Buyers kept flooding. Buyers, I got to get out of my house. I got to get out of this one bedroom. I got to start moving. I got to get something bigger. I want a yard. Sellers were like, you're not coming into my house, right? Then things started opening up and sellers started getting a little more comfortable and they started putting their houses on the market. And that's when the explosion happened. And that's when things went nuts. And that was coupled with historically low interest rates. So people were like, all right, this is free money. Let me dive in. I know that if I buy now, it's a great investment, blah, blah, blah. So everybody was going crazy. And this happened for a good 2 years, a year and a half, whatever it was. But now we're seeing everything slow down. And we've been saying, all right, this has to slow down at some point. What are going to be the factors that slow it down? And the number one factor that slowed it down was the higher interest rates. So all that whole time for 2 years, values were going up 25%, 40%. They were just popping like crazy. But what didn't pop was the interest rates. Now that the interest rates have popped, people are saying, well, wait a second. Now I have to pay how much for the same house that I was going to buy a couple of months ago? No, I'm pulling out, right? So now all these buyers have pulled out. They're saying it's too expensive. So naturally, what has to happen? Well, things are going to sit on the market a little longer. Sellers are going to start pulling their prices down because a month ago it was $315 higher in a month more to buy it 2 months later. So we're going to have to drop our price to get down there. I'm not saying this is the same with every single listing, but it's not surprising that this happened. When interest rates go up 2.5% compared to, we were talking about this earlier in the year and we're like, oh, it's going to go up 1% over the year. It went up drastically, so quickly. Naturally, that is going to stop things. But is that healthy? I think it's actually good that this happened because we were running on an engine that couldn't keep up. And naturally, it could have exploded. But by doing this, it was slowly stopped. It was slowed down. There are still houses that are selling, but it's more of a normalized market. I think 30 days is fine, right? If I have a property on for 30 days, I'm happy, that it's gone in 30 days. That was normal for so many years. To have 15 contracts in one weekend going up $100 and some thousand is ridiculous. So in my opinion, this is a good thing. I think, like I've said before, some of those smaller cities are going to be hurting pretty soon. But this is also seasonal too, right? So seasonality kicks in. The really hot times of the year, and a lot of people are gone. Every August is slow. So in Northern Virginia anyways. So.
Shawn, have you ever seen that cartoon? It's like a train cartoon where the train is going along and then the person is like building the track like right in front of it.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of what the housing market was in Q1 of 2022. Like that train was going so fast that the cartoon character had to build the train so quickly in front of it. And I think what's happened is instead of the train, going over the edge and crashing or whatnot, the train has simply slowed down a little bit and allowed, the workers, right, the buyers, the sellers to take a deep breath. And
it's a great analogy, actually. That's exactly how it feels. And thankfully, it didn't go over the edge.
Right.
It was pulled back just in time.
And you had mentioned interest rates, so it reminds me I'm working with a buyer. He's interested in a condo. It's at $450, and if he had looked at this condo in Q1 of 2022, the same monthly payment, I think right now the monthly payment's around like $2,750, $2,780. That same monthly payment with the interest rates in Q1 would have been around $420,000. But is this seller of this luxury condo going to sell this property for $40,000 under what they're asking? Probably not, right? They'd probably end up renting it out for another year or doing something along those lines. So that's another consideration. And then another note I made on this, this study, which essentially says that 2/3, about 61% of houses have been on the market for about, 30 days or longer. This is a nationwide study, right? This is, specifically the United States. So it doesn't take into account Northern Virginia, DC, Arlington, Falls Church. Well, it does, but it doesn't zero in on those areas, Shawn. And so I guess my final question on this note is, how as agents can we properly prepare our sellers? Because we can tell them that the buyers aren't there. We can tell them that interest rates are higher. Are we taking like a multiple of days on market? Like if a neighboring property sold in 5 days, are we saying, hey, it's going to take 5 times as longer, it's going to take a month? Or if a property is selling for $500,000 a couple months ago, are we looking at the new monthly payment of what that payment used to be with the lower interest rates? What's the best way of setting expectations for the sellers in today's market?
Yeah, first, this isn't the market that was 3 months ago, 4 months ago. You have to be strategic about this now. Properties usually will not sell in that first weekend. Now, we've had plenty of examples that they do. It really just depends on the buyer that's out there that's waiting. But let's just say that there's a lot fewer buyers for that. So what I'm telling my clients is like, listen, it's probably going to take between 30 to 45 days to sell your property on the long side.
We're just moving a decimal point. Instead of 3, it's taken
10 times 30, as longer, basically. Yeah.
That's a conversation.
Yeah. Or maybe not quite 10 times, because a lot of times you could have sold it in 3 days, right? But a lot of times we would keep it to 6. So, you got to think it's going to take 5 times as long probably to sell your property. So it's not just 1 week, it's 4 or 5.
That's scary because I don't know if there's like a blanket, hey, if it took 21 days, it's now going to take 100.
Yeah, and there's not a blanket way of doing that. And like I said, house came up on my street last week, gone that weekend. There are pockets that are still heavy, and our Northern Virginia area there are going to be areas that are going to be popping. Right?
I'd maybe walk it back now that we're talking about it, because fantastic Cape Cod came on in North Arlington, and we put in an amazing offer, went 100K over, 12 offers on it, and lost. And
that's what I'm saying.
Is this January? Is this February?
Here's the thing: where are properties always hot? Inside the Beltway, Arlington, right? That's why I live here. That's why we live here. It's just a really great market, and it's a great place to live. It's convenient to so many things, and that's where a lot of people have moved out to buy larger plots of land and cheaper things, but the scarcity is inside the Beltway. And so you're always going to have those buyers looking there. And so now that they know that buyers are able to get in, they're going to be jumping at these Arlington properties. And a lot of times these Arlington properties are saying, all right, well, let me price it maybe a little bit lower than I was expecting, and let's see what happens. You can't always do that because you just don't know how many buyers are going to come. So keep in your mind, if you're pricing something, you might get that price. If you're pricing low, you might just get that price. But if you make the property look really good, if you're in a great location like that Cape Cod was, it's going to pop. It's going to happen. But, there are other examples. Like there's a house that go ahead.
Yeah. Well, how many fully renovated Cape Cods, single family detached with a backyard or walking distance?
Was that in Ashton Heights?
Ballston.
No, right around in that area.
No, it was, I know the subdivision, I'm just blanking on it right now, but it was a single family house, walking distance to Ballston.
Price
that
point?
Doesn't come up. 900.
$900,000. That's a really good price. Starting price, right? So if you think about a single family home that you said was nicely renovated on a nice plot of land, probably walking distance to Ballston, right? For $900,000 is really tough to find.
Because the townhomes in Ballston are like, 1.3 or so, or maybe 1.2, 1.4.
So that's the thing, is if you price it right, people will come, they'll flock.
But
right?
if you price it right, it's more than that. There's not that many single family detached, fully renovated single family houses with a backyard that just come up. Those don't grow on trees.
That's right.
So
that's right.
It is more of like the commodity based units, right? The condos, the cookie cutter townhouses that maybe are taking a little bit longer.
Right. The condos, there's plenty of them, plenty to choose from. They're going to sit. The single family homes that are renovated and priced fairly will pop. There are plenty of houses that I'm still watching, even in the 700s, that are sitting. And why is that? It's either on a main road or it's not redone. And what do buyers want right now? They want redone. You have to do it or else it's going to sit on the market. And the other thing is, don't overprice. This isn't the same market that it was 3 months ago. And there's a prime example of it. And it's on a main road. It's redone. Really nice listing, beautiful inside, but they priced it too high.
Is it on a main road of the first president of the United States?
Who was that? No, it's not. It's on. Yes, it is. Yes, it's the last name, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So
wait, is it more in your neighborhood or more in my neighborhood?
Closer to mine.
Okay, yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. So the thing is, it shows really well. But when I saw the price, I was like, all right, this is overpriced.
Who cares if we say the street name or the address?
Yeah, right. It's on Washington Boulevard, right? I showed it. I was very nice to him. I said, I think it's overpriced. They did a great renovation on it, but, on a price per square foot basis. And there's certain things wrong with the home.
What'd you think of the stones on the entrance?
Yeah, whatever. It was built in there.
I kind of liked it.
It adds a little cool feature, right?
I thought it was kind of cool.
But the problem with that house is there's 2 bedrooms on the top level and then 2 bedrooms on the second level. Right?
I haven't physically been inside.
Yeah, that's how it is.
And
then there was like a weird washing machine area that was kind of out in the open, and it just didn't work well.
Well, I brought up Washington Boulevard because I had a client who was looking to buy, and he's like, "Hey, what do you think of this one?" And I was like, "Hard no." It's on Washington Boulevard, the part of it where it's a highway. Some parts are a little bit slower. This part was not. So first time home buyers buying on a busy road, not a good bit.
Because those houses always come up in the next 2 years. They're coming. There's properties that we see sell over and over and over again. It's like, don't do it. Just wait.
All right. Well, we could clearly talk about the market for hours. So let's move on to our next topic. This comes to us from Urban Turf. The Northern Virginia zip code where prices popped 40%. Shawn, we are hitting 22307.
Wow.
Think Bellevue, Belle Haven Country Club. You ever played at Belle Haven?
I have not played at Belle Haven. It looks really nice. And I mean, it's in a great location. I know those townhouses directly across from it, right on Belle Haven Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
They used to pop. They always had a pretty high price right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great location, and for some reason, like right there, always gets a really high price comparatively to everything else around.
So Urban Turf came out with a study that this zip code, Belle Haven, Bellevue, where the median home price rose 43% in 2022. The median home price is now $655. So that clearly tells you that there's a mix of condos, townhouses, and single-family homes. I want to say that like the most expensive single-family home was in the mid to high twos. So it's not some astronomical price. We do have a good mix. So if you're looking at that duplex style, like 1940s, like literally a duplex, you can grab those for about $500,000, which is actually like a really good deal. Sure, you're outside the Beltway, but you're just a quick drive into the city, and it's an undertapped, underserved market. I think, you go on Great Schools, right? And, Great Schools has such a strange way of going about grading the schools. But I think last time I checked, the schools were a little bit lower according to Great Schools in this part of town. So I think that's what's always been holding it back. But if you drive down the GW Parkway south of the Beltway and towards the Fort Hunt area, beautiful housing inventory, beautiful drive, and
nice
an absolutely
big lots.
Fantastic area that has seen almost like a suppressed amount of appreciation that we've now seen this year.
Yeah, and while I'm rambling, can you do me a favor and jump onto the onto Bright and just pull up to that zip code and go back maybe 90 days or something like that? I just want to see something and see if my theory is correct.
Okay, Shawn's got a theory.
So what I want to talk to you about that zip code is it's got, a ton of condos that are built in the 1940s, right? And these are typically, they used to be in the 200s. So there was a lot of room to move because it is a great location just south of Old Town Alexandria. You've got the river right across the street. You've got
How far back am I going?
Just 3 months or 60 days. I don't know.
Okay.
And then you've got another group of really small, tiny single-family homes called Bucknell Manor, right? Bucknell Manor, actually, Mike Lanziski, one of our agents, sold 2 up in there this year, and he renovated one and got really good prices for them. But the thing is, they were priced in like the 500s, some of them in the 400s for a single-family home on a decent lot. Yeah, they're smaller homes, but there was room to move there, right? There was room to move because the prices were still low. Now, my other theory is that there was probably an influx of new construction. Mm-hmm. And the new construction is probably what's pushing the value.
Well, that's facts.
Yeah.
That's like you had the condos that you mentioned, and then you have new development because there's a lot of land down there. We saw land. Our stagers market ready. They have a warehouse around the Groveton, High Bluff Valley area that get bought out, and now there's gonna be a bunch of houses. So you do have a lot of inventory in the 5s and even in the 4s that are bringing down the sales price, and then you do have the influx of new townhouses as well. But this is also an area where you can get that. I don't want to call it a starter home because now we did a show one time where it's like starter home is like a bad term. Yeah. I don't know if you remember that show, but like because maybe this is like a starter condo that we're in, but I could be in a starter condo like for a long time. Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, and that's like we're saying, the Bucknell Manor area. That's really they're smaller homes, so it's a more affordable home. And then you go just beyond that subdivision there, but then you've got a little bit larger homes on big plots of land, but really desirable area along the river. It's a beautiful drive. If you've never driven the GW Parkway south of Old Town down to
Mount Vernon.
Mount Vernon.
How
It's a
about
gorgeous
bike it?
drive.
You ever bike it?
I have biked it. It's beautiful.
What do you think about that hill?
It sucks.
At the end.
Dude,
It's
it's
like you're almost there.
riding, and all of a sudden, and there's a couple in there that you don't realize are hills, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh man, this is rough. But yeah, you get that breeze from the, off the river. It's a really beautiful drive.
It's gorgeous, and Fort Hunt is a really cool area as well. I've shown some places down near Waynewood. You can make the argument that it is a little more isolated.
It is.
You do have to battle, Route 1 as opposed to maybe other major commuting routes that you could take if you were in different parts of the area. But once you're like in the neighborhood, just absolutely fantastic place to be.
Yeah, I used to live down there, right on Camden Street, right south of all those. But it was a struggle to get anywhere, right? I mean, it was like you could drive up the GW Parkway, which is always gorgeous, and that's the way I went because there's no lights. You just straight up, right up to Old Town. From that far down, it took about 15 minutes to get there. But if you go Route 1, it's all lights, it's all traffic, so you got to watch yourself.
Couple other stats: percentage of homes sold in 10 days or less, 79%. 103% average sales price to original list price, and 0.79 months of supply of homes for sale in June. So there you go. 22307 coming in solid.
Very good.
All right, Shawn, let's move to our last topic. This comes to us from Market Watch as well as a few other sites. Mark Cuban says buying Metaverse real estate is the dumbest-ish ever. So Mark Cuban, big Web3 guy. He made his money right in the .com boom, sell some website to Yahoo for like billions of dollars. Stupid rich, owner of the Dallas Mavericks. He's actually doing a lot of good things with like pharmaceutical drugs and getting them at like really, really low prices to sell to consumers. I don't know if he's like making much money from that, but like a drug that was like $900 is now like $43. So
that's great.
He's actually doing some good things. He doesn't just, yell at Dirk Nowitzki, on the sidelines of the Mavs games. So he was recently on a podcast with Altcoin Daily on YouTube, and I looked it up and I was like, this is probably going to be some weird channel. It's got 1 million subscribers.
Crazy.
They're killing it. So shout out Altcoin Daily. And Altcoin was essentially asking Mark, like, hey, what's the metaverse? Like, what is it to you? Because Mark Cuban does do a lot in the metaverse and things of that nature. And he was describing it, and it got to the point where Mark was talking about buying real estate in the metaverse, these plots of lands. And he didn't come out right and say, Decentraland or Sandbox or these other ones that we've mentioned, Superworld. He didn't say Superworld because that's a disaster of an investment by myself. But it was only $200. But it's essentially he was saying it was the dumbest thing ever because there's no community, and he equated it to the .com boom and bust, where it's like you're essentially buying a URL with like nothing there or like no plans to create a website or whatnot, because you have to have people, you have to have the infrastructure, you have to have a community for things to happen. If you go out and just start buying land next to Snoop Dogg, well, did Snoop Dogg actually buy that land, or was he sponsored and someone gave it to him for like an Instagram shout out? So I think when we have talked about NFTs and Metaverse, I've even promoted one on this here podcast, which I almost regret doing. But we've also mentioned that it's money that you may never see again. And many of these programs are going to go to zero, and it's pure speculative investing, which is a terrible way to invest. So, Shawn, what are your thoughts on Cuban calling buying Metaverse real estate the dumbest ish ever?
I mean, it's based on speculation too. I mean, he's thinking that is what it is, and he's got maybe a good argument. One thing I'll say is that, it's a cool idea. It was a new idea, and it boomed, right? And so maybe the money was made quickly, and that was when you make your money. But maybe not. Maybe people will start going to it more and more. The tough thing is that it's a narrow market, right? Sometimes you have to have a certain cryptocurrency to purchase the cryptocurrency to purchase the plot of land in the metaverse. So that's one stopping point for investors, is that it's the barriers to entry is a little bit more difficult, where my parents will never do it. The older generation will never do it because it's really difficult for them
Your
to do,
parents
right?
don't have AC.
So-
they're not
okay,
going to go.
so-
they're
so
not going
they
to go out and
started-
buy an NFT.
They actually started one of the metaverses. But here's the other thing about that is that you can create as many metaverses as you want. It's like video games, right? It's like, hey, last year, Madden 93, I bought it. It was expensive then. It's worth nothing now, right? It was cool then. Is it still cool now, right? And so that's the thing. The passage of time, if they're not upgrading and updoing things, then it's going to fall. And then there's always going to be something new and shiny. And maybe that new metaverse will be better and cooler. And, I used to play at ColecoVision when I was young. ColecoVision doesn't exist anymore, so it's kind of like that in a way, right?
By the way, I'm on eBay. John Madden Football 93, lowest price $350.
Dang, I got it. Okay.
So you can't tell me it's not worth nothing.
All right. So there you go. So maybe I'm wrong.
Was it Sega Genesis?
Oh, yeah. I got tons of Sega Genesis stuff. I got the roller controller at home. I got it all, man.
You got a little eBay store in your basement or something.
My parents' attic, which my mom will never let me up there. Mom, let me up there.
You sound like Will Ferrell and Mom, the meatloaf. But this is like a really good example because we're so early on that we don't know what we don't know, right? It's
That's
like,
right.
All right, yeah, let me buy a block of land in this like weird robot world.
When people don't know about it, they're going to push it down, right? Mark Cuban doesn't really know much about that, I'm assuming. So
he
naturally,
knows so much about it.
Oh, okay. He knows a lot,
like
but
he's
saying
a huge advocate for it, which is why he's saying like buying real estate in it is dumb if there's no like infrastructure behind it, because you can always create like another metaverse. Yeah. So like, what's the community and what's the utility surrounding it?
Right. And that's the whole key is like we were saying, you buy close to something that's happening, just like in real estate. You buy next to places that you think are going to increase in value and increase in people coming into. But yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation because when you don't know about something or it's new, just like when email was new, I remember that like clip on like US or
what is the internet?
What is the internet?
Are we on the internet now?
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of that forefront that we're in. So this could totally change. And one of these brand new sites could be the best investment ever. We don't know that. So
yeah, what I thought was interesting is Mark Cuban is a big Web3 guy, and he's like, yeah, essentially don't buy metaverse real estate, or it's like the dumbest thing ever. So I don't know. 5 years from now, we'll play this clip, and maybe we're all living in the metaverse, and maybe not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not going out and buying more or less real estate in the metaverse because of Mark Cuban, but I think there's certainly better ways to, not financial advice, but better ways to invest your money.
Yeah, but you know what? You take a chance sometimes. You take a chance and you don't spend too much money. Don't put the money that you need into it. Put something like you said, just throw a little bit in there and see what happens, right? I've done that plenty of times with stocks and I lose.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, maybe keep watching for real estate advice, not for metaverse real estate advice. Okay, guys, there we have it. Another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to hit the thumbs up button and hit 5 stars on your favorite podcast player. For Shawn and myself, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Take care.